Welcome everybody to today's event. Is it me or is it my relationship? Our interview with Dr. Jackie Simon Gunn. Welcome Jackie to our event today.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Oh, good stuff. Good. And welcome to everybody who's joining us online, live. It's great to have you with us today. I was going to say this evening because it is here in the UK, but it's not for you, Jackie, is it?
No, it's 2 o'clock here. Bright, full sunshine, marathon going on down the block. Yeah, it's a very eventful day here in New York.
Oh wow, that's right. You've got the New York Marathon going on, and it goes,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's really close to where you are.
it's right down the block. Yeah, so my block's closed off, and lots of happy people. It's just a good feeling.
Mm.
We're right around the 16th and a half mile marker here, so you're getting a lot of strong runners passing, still strong, not fatiguing yet. They still have to go through the Bronx and then from the northern part into Central Park where it's very hilly. So they still have a long road ahead.
Still
But
got
lots
a
of
bit to go.
yes, and I had to derail my own running path because there were just too many people, and I saw lots of other runners in the street, which we don't usually do because it's kind of traffic crazy.
Mm.
But
Mm.
so yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds great in New York today. Yeah. And just to say to our online audience to try and use the chat room, give us some questions and some comments. I know, Jackie, you're excited to hear what everybody wants to know and trying to respond to as much as we can.
Yes.
Would be really good. And Saz is in the chat room. She'll pop her email up so that if you are struggling to get into the chat room, she'll let you know. Or just pop her an email and she'll give you a hand. Be great. Okay, so, well, Jackie, I normally ask whereabouts you're located, but I guess you've already let us know that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the context that you work in. What's your work setting?
I just resigned as the training director, the psychology internship training director, and clinical supervisor of the trauma program at the Karen Horney Clinic. And I've just moved into full private practice. So the majority of my work right now, I had I was also teaching. I had all kinds of other things going on. And then after my book came out, I became very interested in writing. And I waited a little while. Of course, I had to wait for the academic year to end. I didn't want to leave my current interns, and then I stepped down from the position, although I'm still very connected to Karen Horney and a lot of the people that are still there. But I have a private office on the Upper East Side, and I'm seeing individual and couples in private practice, and I'm writing, just finished, well, almost finished with my next book and writing other smaller things. So this is the direction I am seeing my career going now. So
Sounds really exciting, stepping out
yes,
of the salaried role, I guess, and into yeah, in writing
yeah,
and seeing clients. Of course, the last time that we met was to talk about your first book, which was excellent, excellent
thank
publication.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
So that interview's in the library, and of course, this interview will be too, be available for people to watch after. And of course, we're going to hook up when you publish your next book. So we're looking
Definitely,
forward
yeah,
to that. Mm.
yes. Me
But today we're here to talk a little bit about relationships, I guess, how you work with relationships, whatever questions that people who are online might have about working with couples or about being in a couple as well, about being in relationships. So, but maybe before we take some questions from the chat room, could you say a little bit about, do you like to work with couples? Is that a part of the work that you're passionate about?
Yes, I love working with couples. It's a very interesting type of work, and it's often very challenging at times, but it's also very alive in the room, working with couples and helping them. I mean, one of the main things that I find and that I do is a lot of times when people come in for couples therapy, it's really errors in communication. And so we work very hard on that in the room. It's a nice, a lot of my patients are individual patients, and a lot of patients that come in for relationship difficulties. And then some of them come in for something else, and as the therapy moves forward, they develop relationship difficulties, sometimes not being able to find one, sometimes being in them. It's a very dynamic sort of part of the therapy. And when I'm working with couples, it's also a very dynamic type of work. It's very alive in the room, getting in the trenches between them, and it's challenging but extremely rewarding, especially whether the couples decide to separate or they make it through and stay together. Seeing people feeling better in their relationship and learning things about their relationship is very fulfilling, because it's this is something that's pervasive. We've all had difficulties in this area. It's a very human sort of problem.
Yeah. Being in the relationship is wonderful and challenging at the same time, and sounds like you really enjoy that kind of work, getting in there, getting in the trenches. And one of the questions that's come into the chat room already is, do you have a particular kind of approach, a particular kind of strategy to working with more than one person in your office? It is different. I mean, sometimes I do see each person in the couple a few times individually, because what I've learned from doing couples therapy is that you don't get like the history and the foundation you have in an individual therapy, because there's really not room in the hour to be asking a person's history, and it may come up like just sort of as it is relevant to what we're talking about. But for me, I feel more secure in my interventions if I have a sense of maybe how this behavior evolved, how integrated it is with the person's personality. So I think that's one thing I've learned, is that although I would not usually see for individual therapy a couple or vice versa, sometimes I do, but I usually try to meet them as a couple and then maybe have one or two individual therapies with each one of them to learn about them and their own independent psychology, and then bring it back into the room and see how they relate. But my approach is still relatively similar, like looking, hearing and thinking about themes that are running through right in the moment as they're fighting. So I guess that's what I mean. It's dynamic. In individual therapy, you have to wait for that to evolve in relation to you as the therapist. You don't have to do. In couples therapy, it's right there all the time, and so it's in that way easier. But then needing the background information harder. So it kind of varies. But yeah, I mean, to see, coming in, they explain the problem. Usually the first session goes reasonably quiet, but by, we're getting into like a month or two of therapy right in the room, everything that is really problematic, and watching the interactions really shed light on what's happening. So yeah,
I'm long-winded. I'm trying to change that. So if
no, that sounds really helpful, Jackie. Yeah, because I guess what you're saying is, when we go for therapy on our own, or when we see a client on their own, we're telling the therapist about our issues, but they're right there in a couple. I guess that dynamic is going on in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, in that way, they don't even have to tell me. And a lot of times they come in fighting about something that's important. I mean, they're fighting about something obviously that's important, but what I'm pulling for is the theme and the underlying reason they're actually fighting, not the fight itself, because often the content of the fight is not helpful. Sometimes I have to stop people right in the middle of a heated argument and say, okay, all right, let's stop for a minute and look at what's happening here. And then I try to help them understand what's going on, what's not being communicated, or how the other person is mishearing the other person, and then the feelings get hurt, and then it's